tonight's stream. My name's Pira Draculea. Tonight we are working on some pages from a coloring book that I'm hoping to have released this fall called The A to Z of Noah's Job History, featuring a character, Noah Thorson, who was in a webcomic I was doing called Noah's Archipelago. Now I'm going to be moving it into more of a book-based project. But anyways, we are at the end of what I'm going to stream for this project, actually. The last two of the A to Z jobs. And they are K is for Koifish Wrangler, and Q is for Quality Assurance Taste Tester in a Candy Factory. So we're going to start with the Koifish one. And this is one where I had the vision of he's, when he was younger, Noah working in, a pawn shop or something like that, or a garden center that had fish. And when he was charged with netting the koi out for customers, I just envisioned them all like descending on him, leaping over the water and attacking him. So I was going to do a bigger version of it where he would be this big and then you'd see the pond and all the fish jumping out. And I thought, why don't I think it'd be funnier if I just zoom right in. So let's get right to it. And the other fun thing is I don't normally draw fish, so these are probably going to look like kind of strange koi, but that's okay. So I think I'm kind of evened out. I'm just using Staedtler pigment liners, by the way, today. And yeah, so as I start going, I'll sort of say this is also, at least for now, going to be the last of the Thursday night live streams. Been kind of thinking about schedule and all that sort of stuff, and honestly, I think I'm better off to pre-record some of these videos instead. I'll still have my Friday night live stream working on Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat for the foreseeable future. And I'll still have my Saturday weekly wrap-up that I honestly just started. Because pre-recording that one honestly is a pain in the butt. But I'm thinking with these sort of drawings, rather than live stream them, I will simply pre-record and post a video a day on Monday through Thursday when I otherwise would have been streaming. But rather than have like a 2-hour long live stream, I'll pay, even if I'm working that same amount of time and I expect to be, I may only have one of the pages filmed and posted the next week. So kind of keeps things a little more tightly focused, I think. Anyways, I'm using different weights of pen here for the different different lines, because you don't need to have every single line be the same weight. And I think it also gives some definition to the drawing, where you have the main outline, say, of Noah being very heavy, and then we have this sort of medium weight one for, I guess you could say, sub parts of him. And then we will also have even lighter for smaller areas. So, I'm just thinking, should I? Yeah, I'm going to jump over and start drawing in some of these koi as well. And I'll use different line weights front to back. Sometimes it's easier actually to start a little bit thinner, and then later I can always fatten up the lines. So let's go for a 0.7, and that's what we will start with for this koi here. I have seen some things online talking about when koi, quote unquote, attack you, that it actually just kind of tickles. But I'm sure if a whole gang of them went after you, as in this case, it'd probably be annoying at the very least. But even with this lighter weight, I'm just going to outline the body, the main body now, and then I'll use finer weights for, definition in the scales and fins, and we'll go from there. So, and I also do want to have some indication that there is water around here. Probably thicken up those lines afterwards. I've actually been watching a fair amount of like pond restoration type videos. Of course, now I'm going to forget the guy's name, but there's a British gentleman who has a YouTube channel, and his business is all about koi ponds and whatnot. He's kind of got a whole series about with this one client that's it's called the abandoned koi fish pond, but I mean, new owners have come in and they are definitely not abandoning the pond, considering that they're bringing him in to work on stuff. It's always kind of interesting to see all that. So you have these kind of a whisker kind of look. I think that one's face kind of juts out in front of that tail, so that's why I'm stopping that line there. In areas where I don't have fish, this is a prime spot to put in more sort of water drops, water splashes coming in. This kind of breaks up the monotony of a forearm and whatnot. So, somewhat thicker line on this guy. We'll go for a 1.5 or 1.2, pardon me. Bearing in mind that is a coloring book, so we will want some closed spaces. I think I'm going to finish that line with a much thinner pen. Just wanted to kind of block it in. Same with this guy coming up who hasn't managed to bite Noah yet. Now, in the book, what I'm going to do is the different jobs will be on the right-hand page, and then they'll be on the left-hand page. There'll be a little story that goes along. So that's where the explanation of exactly what's going on will be. Figure you usually don't want to, or often you don't want to have a back-to-back illustration in a coloring book, because if somebody uses, say, alcohol markers, it'll bleed through the one and ruin the other. So, but rather than leave it blank, I figure, well, we can use that space. We can make it funny. Although I think some of these drawings are funny themselves, but you know. Oh yeah, I forgot Noah's supposed to have a name tag on here. So we will draw that in along with a bunch more water. Might actually put in some water from down here first. And then we will have his little name badge. A little clip like that. So we've got the basic outlines in, right? So we can now start adding more and more detail. And I think I'm going to start with just kind of playing around with some of the line work in, say, the fins and whatnot. At the end, I'll probably make some certain lines a little thicker here and there to just give a little more weight. if anyone's seen some of my previous coloring page streams, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But I try and work more or less thinner to heavier, although in some places like here, I'm going in with a medium and I'll probably further subdivide with thinner. So I'm not too worried about places where I might have a little crossover with the pen, because that'll end up vanishing later. So the nice thing with these pigment pens is they do dry really quickly, so I can sort of bounce all around the page as long as I'm not putting my hand down immediately after laying down some ink, because that way I can kind of go with the flow. Whereas when I would use liquid ink and a dip pen, I pretty much really need to start top left to bottom right in each frame and also on the page, because otherwise, I mean, sometimes it dries quickly, especially this time of year, but you kind of don't want to, you're at a lot more risk of smearing things in a way that's, shall we say, non-recoverable, or a major pain in the ass to fix it in Photoshop if you bounce all around. So, which means that working with these pigment liners kind of makes it a little bit more spontaneous, I guess. Oh, and I forgot Noah's eyebrows. Can't forget his eyebrows. We'll just fix that right now. Of course, koi have a lot of scales. I'm not going to necessarily add in every single scale, especially on the fish that are a little further away, but I'm going to add a lot of scales. After all, if somebody wants to not worry about coloring them in, well, that just means they have a white koi fish, right? You know, they can just kind of color in the parts that they want to color in and design their own color patterns for their fish in that manner. Of course, they also have scales on their faces, but I'll probably draw some other patterns on their faces that aren't really scale based. Hey, Pavel, how's it going? Keep rocking it. Yep, sure will. You too. Chugging along. This particular project's getting very close to being done. Probably have another 10 drawings to do that I'll do off stream over the next couple weeks, and a little bit of writing, and then it's gonna be getting ready to do the various proofs with Amazon and whatnot for self-publishing. So that's exciting. Oh, good. Enjoy your night. You too, Pavel. Thanks for stopping by. It's kind of debating whether I'm actually going to put all the different jobs in alphabetical order or whether I will put them in kind of a like a chronological, because this one I would say is a job Noah had in his 20s, perhaps late 20s. Actually could be teens with the hairdo that I've chosen for him. The others would be jobs he's had more recently and whatnot. But I think if I'm going to call it the A to Z, and there is an A to Z other than the W actually has a couple jobs associated with it, then it kind of makes sense to do it, go through in order A to Z. But we'll see about that. Put a little bit of a sub-outline here in the water droplets. If you were doing this in quilting, you would probably call this a echo quilting pattern. When it comes to Noah's face, we aren't going to do this kind of one, though. We will kind of do kind of swirling. Like I've had on a few different jobs, like when he was doing narration and he's reading like 50 Tints of Trash. I think we know what kind of book that was a spoof of. The outline on his face is all different monetary currency symbols. So we'll kind of pick something a little similar. I'm also going to kind of vary a little bit how I do the scales. Like this one's scales on this fish are kind of more long, which of course is not anatomically accurate, I'm pretty sure, but makes it just a little bit different than this guy's. So for anyone who may be new to this project, hasn't seen a previous stream about it, the gist of it is that Noah's 8-year-old daughter has a homework assignment about jobs, so she asks her father about his job history for it. And then, of course, she's bored out of her tree as he's going on and on about all these different jobs he's had. She doesn't really care about her homework, so she doesn't really care about the answers either. Until he gets to the letter Q, which is the one we'll do at the end of tonight's stream. Because Q is quality control, aka taste tester in a chocolate or candy factory. Suddenly, Ursula is very, very interested. She now knows what she wants to do with her life. Of course, Noah just moves on to talking about R, which I believe is reindeer minder, and he won't answer any questions about how it is that she could become a professional chocolate eater. So we kind of have that little angle into the story. I don't know if any thumping picks up in the mic. If so, my neighbor is building something. So, and his workshop is about 20 feet away from where I'm sitting. So, if you hear thumping, something is being made very close by. I suspect that in general, the noises I hear in the background don't pick up in my mic, but thumping, hammering nails in might. So. I'm hoping that I will be able to get this book out in, say, November this year. I'm not entirely certain, but that is going to be the aim. If not November, then it'll be out in January, I believe. So it's kind of funny. I'm planning different coloring books that I want to produce in the next couple years and whatnot, and it's kind of weird to be planning already about like, okay, and then at the end of 2027, that's how it goes. So, just kind of like highlight some of these and also some scales where things overlapped in kind of a bad way. I can reinforce that line and then it just looks more intentional. lose the line of the gill slit. I'm going to actually fatten it up. Not the whole way around, but just say... like that. And I think I am going to thicken up this line. And let's also thicken up kind of the underside line on this guy before we go in and add a bunch of swirls and whatnot to his face. kind of a theme that's developed in this book about animals attacking Noah. And several of the pages have birds kind of going after him because they're pissed off at him for whatever reason. Sometimes because of stuff he's done or part of his job, and sometimes just because he's there. And then now we've got the fish. There is the reindeer kind of giving him a wedgie with the antler. So this one ends up looking very snake-like, but sometimes they look kind of snake-like, depending on the angle. So I got like these water drops to kind of have a thicker outline. I use a really thick pen on the bottom, but even the top will give a slightly thicker outline. Just going to put a bunch of droplets down here. Give it the sense of like foam or frothy water. This will also kind of echo what I've done with water in a couple of the other, one or two anyways, of the other drawings, like the water slide tester one and whatnot. Kind of had these circles as well as the, you know, splooshing out kind of water marks. And some of these we'll make thicker and some we won't. Above this, the background is not going to have these because I'm envisioning he's not in the water really. They're leaping out of the water to get at him. So I'm not sure yet exactly what I'm going to have in the very background, but we will continue on with finishing off the fish first. Yeah. And this one needs some shadow on him. We'll make it like this fish has bags under his eyes from not sleeping. this upside down so I can reach these koi a little easier. This guy's a little asymmetrical, but they kind of all are, so. So now we've got the koi complete, and now we got to decide what kind of patterns we're going to have on Noah. I mean, first of all, let's finish off his hair. That's kind of an easy access point. Not that you see much of his hair. Oh, the pattern on his hand is not going to be, you know, what goes on the rest of them. This figure, I kind of like when you see the palm of the hand to kind of echo the sort of lines that we know we have in hands, right? Do the exclamation point. So we are going to have a whole bunch of exclamation points on Noah's face. we've got another exclamation point in his kind of his elbow. So there we have Noah. Now we got to do the background. And I'm thinking, so we've got these swirling sort of patterns in the water and the dots and whatnot, but we've got more straight lines on him. I am kind of thinking little triangles. I don't know why, it just popped into my head. We're going to go with it. there we have that. Yeah. So I think we're good with that one. So that brings, well, this one tiny area. I'm just going to fill in black there. So that now brings us, so now I'm looking and then that annoys me. I'll have a little bit of fiddling here. I think that's better. There. So now that drawing is going to be done, which means we are on to the last of Noah's jobs. Q for quality assurance. Taste testing, in other words, in the candy factory. So, I think even though that's a fairly big drawing, I'm going to, for Noah's main features, I'm going to use the 1.2 millimeter. We may kind of, around his eyes, end up giving him even thicker lines, but of course Noah's wearing, it's more than a hairnet, it's kind of like, almost looks like a shower cap. When I did some Googling looking for like quality control, candy factory, they're all kind of dressed up in basically what, not quite hazmat suits, but whole lot of covering going on. Which, hey, that just means that it's less likely to have contamination, but it does look really weird too. So, I was holding his pen weird, but that's fine. Rare example of Noah wearing like a t-shirt. Mind you, he's required to for his job. Can't be going around with his hairy chest half hanging out in what's supposed to be a sterile setting. So, and you know, it doesn't mind covering up so much when it's part of a costume. So he probably is just imagining that this is a costume. And hey, I mean, to a certain extent, work uniforms are a costume, right? So, there we go. That's the rough outline. And I'm not leaving him with plucked eyebrows. That's just kind of the base. Whatever candy he's eating, he's got it kind of squirreled away like nuts in his cheeks. Bit of bags under his eyes as if he's doing shift work, which maybe he is. Not sure about this face pattern. Of course, I'm doing it with pigment pen, so I'm stuck with it for now, but it does kind of make, I am kind of thinking that I may end up tracing this one and redrawing his face. I like the expression, but I don't know. But we will keep it going with it for now. Sometimes things just, you gotta trust the process, and in the end it looks right. Upside down. What I remember seeing is they all seem like they have a knot here, and then these rays kind of radiate out. So, well, let's play with that. It almost looks like Gene Simmons's hair, but I presume it would not be. Anyways, let's outline the letters. Here I'm just kind of alternating between different thicknesses of pen. This gives it a little bit of a different vibe. Now, kind of want to give a sense of these being gloves, not his actual, well, his hands, but that he's wearing gloves. So I'm thinking there's some shapes that kind of indicate pulling or Kind of looks almost like he's got zebra print gloves. But laptop's making noise. Don't know if that picks up in my mic. So like I was saying, because I mean, still got a ways to go on to finish this, but I'm getting a lot closer. Like I said at the beginning, I think this is, well, certainly for the next little while, this is going to be the last Thursday night stream. I think I'm going to, for reasons of scheduling and whatnot, I think I'm going to switch to doing some pre-recorded videos. Now, Friday will remain a live stream, and the Saturday recap, I think, will stay as a live stream. But I think starting on Monday, what I'm going to do is to pre-record, going on whichever project. So Mondays being currently basically stories from a book that I'm working on called A Year in Ratsville, even though I think actually the Thanksgiving in Ratsville isn't actually going to be in the first Year in Ratsville book. It'll probably be in a later one, but I'm going to do one illustration per week that I'll film for each of those projects, and then Monday through Thursday I'll just edit and upload that. So I think next Wednesday or next Thursday we're actually starting back with Noah with the Book of Days that I was working on Tuesdays. So, because I kind of have a list of which of the days I'm going to put in, and I think what I'll do is, because pretty much every day of the year has some random sort of thing that's going on it. For each of the Thursdays, I'll pick one to illustrate, and that'll be the drawing for that. So anyways, just a little, well, I guess it's not a little, it's a big change coming, but kind of finding scheduling wise, kind of like to have my evenings a little more clear for clubs that I belong to and whatnot that I haven't been able to attend in months. So that points to pre-recording stuff and posting my work that way. And then we'll kind of see after a couple months whether I think I need to post more, post less, or what. So And with the background, I'm just going to make it as if this is a form in the background. As if this stuff is what Noah's writing. So. Or rather, what Noah's filling out. Anyways, for this particular stream, the usual thing applies. I will save it as private, and then when YouTube finishes its video processing tomorrow, I will make this live stream public again. And I think for background, we're going to leave it at that. And then I'm going to keep, because that's supposed to be a white lab coat, I'm going to keep it pretty low key. So it'll end up being one similar with the janitor one, where there's a lot of open space and not as many tiny detail areas. But, you know, that way it's kind of balanced as well, that not everything in the book is super tiny and detailed. And yeah. So tomorrow night, we are continuing with Ricky B, the Rock and Roll Rat, and that will be a live stream. And what the plan for tomorrow is we actually get to where the B story kind of comes to a head. Or the beginning of the B story coming to a head, where we have one page and then the next page is an ad and Ricky, and then the third page that I'll ink tomorrow, or try to get as far as the third page. That will be when Ricky kind of says, "What's with all the ads?" And then, you know, things proceed from there. So, and then I think the next 2 weeks of live streams on the Friday nights will be pertaining to that, what's up with the ads and Ricky's reaction to it. So, yeah, maybe we'll have like there, one little fold. So there we have it. Let's have one last look. And so we started out with K is for Koifish Wrangler, and all the koi are attacking Noah. So this is a job he had when he was younger. Water splashing, etc. And then another job he had was quality control, quality assurance, taste tester in a candy factory. So yeah, those are the last two of the Noah's jobs, at least for this run. I will say, because I was originally planning to have 2 jobs per letter of the alphabet, what this means is that I have essentially a whole other book. Well, whether I'll get to that in 2027, actually, I don't think I will get to it in 2027. I think that's going to be a 2028. But we will have a sequel to the A to Z of Noah's jobs at some point. So yeah, at some point in the fall, I hope that this book is available for sale via Amazon. So, but I will keep you guys posted, certainly on my Saturday recaps, and, you know, making, when the book is done and I have like a proof copy of it, that is going to be the same as, like, there's no mistakes, and I'm gonna actually launch it at that point. I will then do like a book flip through video at that point with the links to buy it and blah 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 blah. You know. Okay, I just suddenly realized I'm kind of bothered by that fin outline being kind of thin. So there we go. Now it's done. So that is going to be it for tonight's live stream. And like I said, going forward on the Thursdays, I will I'll still be posting videos having to do with Noah and his adventures, but I will work on something and well, not off camera because I will film it, but I'll film like one page of whatever project and post it on a Thursday night. So it'll be pre-recorded. It won't be a live stream. But anyways, hope you've enjoyed this run of live streams with Noah and whatnot. And like I said, we will see you tomorrow for Ricky B Goes to Sea, and Saturday for the weekly recap stream. Those are both going to be 7 p.m. Pacific. And yeah, a bunch of other stuff getting posted on the channel, pre-recorded or whatever, going forward. So thanks for watching. See you again real soon. And what I'll leave you with, with the overlay, with the click on this, whatever, subscribe and all that, is going to be the Making Coloring Books playlist. Anyways, see you again soon. Bye for now.